Hey everyone, it's Zelenka, and today I want to talk about the negative things in coding because I've been overly positive. I've been trying to motivate people to start their career in tech and to maybe just look outside the box a little and maybe find that coding would be the right fit for them. But since all that glitters isn't gold, I want to talk about the negative sides. So, if you're feeling burned out, or if you're just someone who's considering a career in tech, just watch this video to find out whether this is really the right fit for you. These are the things I've written down over time, and these are the things which I wish I knew sooner. Maybe I would reconsider my career. I've been coding for over 8 years now, so I think I do have some good insights that might help you further. So, without further ado, let's get started. As you're getting older, the number one thing you want to consider is your health. And coding isn't particularly healthy because, as you can imagine, you're sitting behind your PC for long periods of time. And if you're a gamer or someone who just likes sitting in front of screens in general, then you'll be sitting in front of the screen for the whole day. It wouldn't be that bad. A lot of people go to the gym, they take walks, etc. They try to stay active, but the thing is that your posture is usually really bad. Like you're not sitting straight just as you should be sitting, but maybe you're sitting like a shrimp and you have your feet up and I don't know what to feel comfortable. And then it becomes particularly unhealthy. So this is something to consider. Like, are you able to sit for long periods of time? And are you able to maintain a healthy posture while doing so? Because I definitely can't. And then I have issues with my neck. So a lot of times in the evening, I have to use a neck massager because my neck is so stiff. And I try to work out around 3 to 4 times a week. I also have a walking pad so that I can get some steps while coding. But still, it's just fighting against something. This is one thing you should really consider. Are you able to like stay healthy? Because a lot of people they are snacking while they're working, and if you're not moving and you're snacking and you are over calories, you know what happens. Another major issue is feeling frustrated or depressed. Right now, I am pretty burnt out from work, and that's why I decided to film this video. And I thought I'm in the right mindset to tell you how it really is. So, a lot of times you are feeling frustrated because you might have a lot of work, you might have a lot of deadlines, or you might be having to solve bugs which are just too complex to be solved at one time, or for your brain to comprehend. We also have AI tools now such as ChatGPT, etc. And a lot of people are using these AI tools to their advantage, but at the same time they make you feel dumb, if I have to say this way. So if you're struggling with something and you ask AI to solve it for you, and you can see that AI solves it like that, you feel frustrated, you feel depressed, you feel like you're less than someone or something. And for example, now we have a lot of company deadlines which need to be met until the end of the year. So it's going to be a really hectic and stressful Christmas season. And I'm someone who likes to calm down a little bit before Christmas and just enjoy Christmas and winter. And I feel like I can't do that right now because I have to meet these crazy deadlines. A lot of that also goes into choosing the right company you want to work for. If you're burned out or you haven't started your career yet, try to find your values, like what is important for you, what do you want in a work environment, because sometimes things get really bad and I quit multiple jobs because it has just become extremely toxic for me. Like I felt like this is a toxic environment and I just have to leave like right now, because if you keep telling yourself that things are going to be better and you are talking to people and they're going to tell you things are going to be better but they never get better, I mean, like, what's the point? So choose your employer wisely. And if you know that something is just below your standards and you have a way to like escape, because we know that sometimes or now finding a job is pretty difficult, then just go for it. Which brings me to AI and the difficulty of finding a job nowadays. So AI is here and this industry has changed a lot. Previously, it's been like you've been coding, you've been Googling, copying from Stack Overflow, etc. And now it's like you're chatting with a chatbot. and you're trying to write good prompts in order to get good responses from the chatbot. Of course, there is work which can't be solved by chatbots because it's too complex or too company specific or too low level, etc. You know what I mean? So just imagine if you want to be first solving bugs for the rest of your life, because you're not always creating, but a lot of times you're just solving problems and problems and problems, and that's like the most part of the job, is like solving something you did wrong or finding bugs and just making the software better. And that's a lot of frustration. It's not always about creating things. Most of the time it's about solving bugs, and the question is if you want to do that for the rest of your life and if you actually find joy in that. But back to AI. So what I wanted to say is that you're no longer coding on your own and Googling on your own, but a lot of times you're just chatting with a chatbot. And the question is if that is something you would like to do for the whole day, or that's at least where the industry is going. Like there are AI tools which help you be a better software engineer, or that's at least how I see it. And that brings me to the next point, that you always have to be learning because new technologies come in. We had a big boom with blockchain and the cryptocurrencies. Now it's AI and it's everywhere, and you have to adapt. So now the question is if you should like reconsider what you're doing, and if you should maybe start to learn how to train AI models, because that's where we are currently going. And if that's going to be a failure or not, we're going to see later, but probably not. So the whole industry is changing and we have to adapt constantly. Whenever something new comes, you have to adapt and use the technology. We had a lot of machine learning models and methods, and then the large language models came around with transformers, and you had to adapt to start using transformers because it was the new thing. And if you didn't do that, then you were behind, and you don't want to stay behind in this industry. So you have to be someone who is constantly willing to learn. Then, of course, if you're learning something new, it might take a long time for you to understand what you're doing. And this can be also frustrating because you're learning, and you feel like you don't know anything. And the more you learn, the more you start to realize that you know nothing. Besides that, it's a really lonely job. I know you might be thinking, yeah, but I'm designing the project with my team and we're talking about the architecture and about what's going to be where and how things will communicate together and what the database is going to look like, etc., etc., etc. But in the end, you are going to code those things alone. If you're a software engineer and your task is to code, then you're going to be coding and you're going to be coding alone. Like there's not a lot of like peer programming. So you're gonna be lonely with your task, and you're gonna be focused at your task, and you're with yourself. So you have to be someone who knows how to be with themselves, and you have to control your mind a lot. As I said, it's a lot frustration. It can be really depressing at times. So you have to be mentally strong. I remember my days when I started to learn coding in university, and a lot of times when I was learning coding, I would just cry, but not because I was like mentally unstable or because I was just like, you know, I was just weak or something. But no, it was something I couldn't control. I was learning and I was crying, and I just couldn't control that because it was that frustrating to me and I just couldn't control it. Like imagine like tears coming from my face and I would still be like doing projects for university and I wouldn't even focus on the crying part, but I would just cry because that's how my brain felt. Plus, if you're working remotely like I am, then you're not gonna be meeting your team. You're really gonna be on your own. Plus, if you're a freelancer and doing everything remotely, that's gonna get even worse if you're not having offline meetings with your clients. There's also job insecurity, as I said, because of AI, because of everything evolving so rapidly. And a lot of times people find themselves redundant in a company and it might not be their fault. Like they might be really good. The company is simply cutting costs or they're canceling certain projects. It happened to my friends, it happened to people I know. So it is what it is and you have to be prepared for it. Another thing which is really frustrating is job interviews, because job interviews tend to be really hard. They tend to go through like various rounds of coding through architecture, through like hard lead code questions, etc. And this can be really frustrating, and you have to prepare for the interview for quite a long time. This is something that some people don't take into consideration. Like if you really want a job at Google, Meta, or Nvidia, or wherever, you have to go through their interview process, and that process is just like crazy. That's something I never want to go through, by the way. And I talk about that pretty openly. I am just totally against such interviews, and simply because you're never going to do that at the actual work, but they're only doing that to like prove you're worthy or something. Like you have to prepare for months and months and months so that you can actually take the job, which to me is just crazy. But if you're someone who wants that, then go for it. One thing I struggle with lately is the lack of creative freedom. Let's put it that way. I often said that coding is art, and you can be really creative with coding because you can basically create whatever you want with software. But the thing is, if you're working for a company and the company knows exactly what they want to see and what you should code, then you should code exactly that. And if you don't, then it's wrong. A lot of times, you might have better ideas and the company might accept your ideas, but sometimes they just don't. And it's a client you work for, and you just have to accept that that's what the client wants, and you have to make it look exactly like the client wants. And that can be really frustrating, and you don't feel creative. A lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome, especially when they're starting a new job or when they're switching technologies or projects. And this can be really frustrating since you feel like you aren't enough for the job, even though it's not true at all. And I felt this way a lot of times. I'm feeling this way almost all the time, to be honest. So, this is something you're definitely not alone in. And it's basically the fear of someone finding out that you are less than other people, that you're a fraud, that you aren't enough. And this feeling is not something you want to experience on day-to-day basis. Because you want to wake up and be happy that you're doing something you love and not waking up and feeling depressed and frustrated because you have to go to a job which you hate, which doesn't help you grow, etc. There's so many more reasons and so many more negative parts to coding. I don't want to make this video too long, but remember that all these actually contribute to burnout, which is something I am currently experiencing, and that's why I am reconsidering my job and my choices. But just so you know that it's not all gold that glitters, and you should focus on both the positive and the negative parts of coding. A lot of the aspects I mentioned have a lot to do with the company you're working for or the way you're working. I want to thank you for watching this video to the end, and if I could help you out or you like similar content, I'd be more than happy if you would like and subscribe and follow me on my other social media platforms. I hope to see you soon. Bye!